Have you ever met someone who just seems to operate on a different frequency? They absorb information like a sponge, solve problems before you've even finished explaining them, and possess a level of mental clarity that feels almost unfair. For decades, we were told that your IQ, your intelligence quotient, was a fixed number, a genetic lottery ticket you were handed at birth. But here's the secret the world of high-stakes neuroscience is finally whispering. Your brain is not a porcelain statue. It's a muscle, a living, breathing, adaptive network that can be rewired, reinforced, and radically upgraded. Today, we're moving beyond the life hacks and the quick fixes. We are diving into the rigorous, evidence-based habits that can actually move the needle on your cognitive ceiling. We're talking about neuroplasticity, BDNF, and the myelin sheath. If you've ever felt like you're running on 20% of your potential, this is your manual for the remaining 80%. Stick with me, because by the end of this deep dive, you won't just think differently. You'll understand the biological architecture required to become the most intelligent version of yourself. Let's start with the foundation. In a world of 15-second TikToks and constant notifications, the rarest commodity on Earth is uninterrupted focus. In neuroscience, there's a concept called myelination. Myelin is the fatty tissue that wraps around your neurons. Think of it like the insulation on a high-speed fiber optic cable. The thicker the myelin, the faster and more accurately the electrical signals travel through your brain. When you practice a complex task with deep work, a term coined by Dr. Cal Newport, you are literally triggering the oligodendrocytes in your brain to wrap more myelin around those specific circuits. Research from the University of London suggests that multitasking can actually lower your effective IQ by up to 10 points. That's the equivalent of losing a full night's sleep. High IQ individuals don't just work harder, they work singularly. Implement the 90-minute monastic block. For the first 90 minutes of your day, 0 notifications, 0 internet if possible, and 1 cognitively demanding task. This is where you build the white matter that separates the geniuses from the distracted. You might think IQ is all about books, but it's actually about BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists call it Miracle-Gro for the brain. BDNF is a protein that supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones, particularly in the hippocampus, the center of memory and learning. A landmark study from the Journal of Applied Physiology showed that high-intensity aerobic exercise immediately spikes BDNF levels. But here's the kicker for an American audience. It's not just about going for a walk. It's about mechanical tension and heart rate variability. Zone 2 and Zone 5 cardio. To maximize IQ, you need a mix of steady-state aerobic work to flush out metabolic waste and short bursts of high-intensity training to trigger that BDNF surge. If you want to think like a polymath, you need to move like an athlete. High intelligence requires a high-performance delivery system, your blood flow. High IQ isn't just about how much you know, it's about how you organize what you know. This is where the concept of mental models comes in. Charlie Munger, the late billionaire and polymath, famously spoke about a latticework of mental models. Most people think in silos. They know marketing or they know biology. But the highest IQ individuals practice cross-pollination. They use the laws of physics to understand economics. They use evolutionary biology to understand human psychology. The psychology of SEO. By learning the big ideas from every discipline, things like the Pareto principle, entropy, and game theory, you create more hooks in your brain for new information to latch onto. This reduces the cognitive load required to learn something new. The Feynman technique. To master a new concept, explain it to an imaginary 10-year-old. If you hit a gap in your explanation, that's where your intelligence is lacking. Fix the gap, and you've just upgraded your mental software. Let's get real. You can't hustle your way to a high IQ if your brain is swimming in cellular trash. During the day, your brain's metabolic activity creates waste products, including beta amyloid, the same protein linked to Alzheimer's. When you sleep, your brain's glymphatic system, essentially the brain's plumbing, opens up and flushes this waste out with cerebrospinal fluid. If you cut your sleep to 6 hours, you are essentially leaving 40% of the trash in your neural pathways. Research from the University of Rochester Medical Center shows that this rinse cycle only happens during deep, slow-wave sleep. High IQ individuals prioritize sleep architecture over sleep duration. Non-negotiable sleep hygiene. 65-degree room temperature, no blue light 60 minutes before bed, and consistent wake-up times. You aren't losing time by sleeping. You are optimizing the hardware for the next day's processing. Finally, we have to talk about the Anterior Cingulate Cortex, ACC. This is a part of the brain that grows when you do things you don't want to do. High IQ is often a byproduct of hormesis, the biological phenomenon where a small amount of stress makes an organism stronger. People with extremely high IQs often have a high tolerance for cognitive dissonance. They lean into the friction of a hard problem, rather than looking for the answer on Google immediately. The 10-minute struggle rule. When you hit a wall on a problem, a math equation, or a creative block, force yourself to stay in the frustration zone for at least 10 minutes before seeking help. This builds the neural stamina required for high-level synthesis. Becoming a person with an extremely high IQ isn't about a magic pill or a secret brain game app. It's about the compounding interest of your habits. It's the 90-minute blocks of focus, the BDNF spiking workouts, the mental models you build, and the deep sleep that cements it all together. Your brain is the most complex object in the known universe. Treat it like a high-performance machine, not a storage unit. If you start implementing just one of these habits today, perhaps that 90-minute deep work block tomorrow morning, you are already ahead of 99% of the population. The ceiling you think you have? It's a floor. You just haven't built the stairs yet.